I'm called Khalid, and I have my co-author, Elisabeth Sorensen. We work at the same research lab, D4 Learning, at Aalborg University, and we are located at the Department of Learning and Philosophy. By background, with my honors and masters, I'm a computer scientist, but now I'm into humanities. So I migrated from one discipline to another, and I brought you two disciplines in this because I teach in two subjects. I teach in educational technology, and I also teach in technoanthropology that is rooted to science and technology studies. And I'll start with the basic outline here. I have, within introduction, brief motivation and scope, very precise objective of what I want to establish. And then I want to say briefly about what is a controversy. Actor network theory is used in this paper. So I'll from the root, the authors who have used actor network theory is now have got into a full-blown methodology and method. So I'll be talking about what is Cartography of Controversy as a method. Then I'll talk about what are the constraints and challenges with digital methods, because I just received a question before I started my presentation about what method did you use in your MOOC study. So I devised a new methodology that I will be presenting, not really devising, it's unfolding towards a new trend of research paper. And I used my interest in MOOC as a case to do this research, to demonstrate how this might be conducted, and a conclusion about future work. This is to be mentioned that it's a work in progress, and I actually managed to put it out of my brain in just 1 week, so it might have a lot of flaws, and I would like to learn from your comments and strong criticisms. MOOCs, we know about the name with edX, Coursera, Udacity, Udemy, FutureLearn, P2PU, even Moodle, MIT's OpenCourseWare, etc. are the educational technologies. This is a highly debated, polarized among proponents, boosters, skeptics, and opponents. Now, Cartography of Controversies, it's a method, and this guides the application of actor network theory pioneered by Bruno Latour. And there are many universities in Europe and mostly in the western part of this world, which universities are involved in this mapping controversy study. Adopted and developed in several universities in Europe, as I quote Venturini, about the cartography of controversies. Venturini is actually one of the students of Bruno Latour, who pioneered his method and published a couple of papers in this. I can find only one author who has really made it very clear for us to communicate with students. The method is documented for website production. So what it does is he made a 9+1 layer of how to conduct research on controversial topic, whether that is about PISA test, or that is about any secondary education, assessment process, or any other can be the topic that is hot and debated. And he says that it is a method that is being used in various universities as a study program, so that students use that as a pedagogical model, and instead of writing a report, it is made a website. Actually, without a website, it is difficult also to communicate about the outcomes that are made. For example, if we know about Google Trends, do we know about Google Trends? Yeah, some of us do know about Google Trends. If you search a keyword, it will show a trend, and you can actually drag the line, see the timeline about the controversies, and you can also see some articles connected. Now imagine if I want to publish a paper about it. I need an appropriate new trend of research paper publication process, not printed, which is not interactive. So that's why the method is to make websites, and that is becoming the method of assessing students. They present the website, and so it is made for them. What I did here is I tried to make a research paper out of that method. And I was looking at, can we make research paper based on Venturi's method? So that was my underlying thought that I wanted to do, the initial motivation. So to adopt the Cartography of Controversies method in the field of education and educational technology is the broad objective. So this paper documents and demonstrates how controversial issues can be documented by using the method Cartography of Controversies, and proposes that such investigations can be reported as a genre of the scholarly article. It is a proposal. We can deny, we can be skeptic, or take any other position. It includes observations and explorations of the contents in the online media and analyzes the nature of controversies about MOOCs, because I take it as the case. It demonstrates the application of some of the digital tools for the data collection and analysis. I have used only few of many tools that I used, software tools that I used, so I would be briefly saying about that. And if I'm given a 5-minute signal, then I might perform better.
You have 10 minutes.
Thank you. So what comprises a controversy? Controversy is every aspect of science and technology concept or product that has not yet been stabilized. And it is defined in many other ways. In the widest sense, controversies begin with actors. You know, a computer can be an actor, an iPad can be an actor, because it's changed the way we live. An iPad's cover can be an actor. So that is the concept of an actor. So a human actor or non-human can be an actor. That is the broad concept. What comprises a controversy? There are 5 features of social controversies, and I would not go into the details of the 5 of these. Rather, I would say that there are 5 elements, 5 of these, and we need to be careful about when we decide about who is an actor and who is not an actor. And when we also choose a topic, we have to be careful that we are not taking something old. And we know that MOOC is right now a very burning issue. And from various dimensions, people talking about different things. So this is, as Venturini says, and also Bruno Latour says, that it is as live as a magma. It continuously shapes and reshapes. So I consider MOOC is right now in that situation. And it can be considered as a issue for controversy analysis. I was trying to find out the origin of this mapping controversies method and approach. And I found that this 1992 article of Bruno Latour and his colleagues, which attempts to create a new research tool to follow the dynamics of science and technology, socio-technical analysis develops new quantitative indicators and graphic representations with which to map the development of a scientific controversy or a technical innovation. So according to this definition and initiative, it looks very numerical and quantitative. What I wanted to bring in is also the qualitative dimension of it. It's not that STS discipline people who are adopting this and in other disciplines are not talking about the qualitative dimension, but it is not that strong there. So Venturini elaborates how to explore controversies with actor network theory and how to represent controversies with digital methods. I followed mainly 2 of his articles. It is suggested the method is like this. First, we have one missing link here in Venturini's approach, but I did not explain it in my paper. I just didn't have enough space to argue for. 10 pages, not enough. So I think we start with keywords, not statements. The first point we have is we start with some keywords. We look for who have used the word MOOC and stated differently, opposing statements. So then from these opposing statements, we find literature, news articles, media, Twitter tweets, and everything, different digital sources. And from those literatures, we find actors. Are these some technologies that is shaping? Or are these some people? Or is it a research institute? What is the actor here? Who is playing the power role? Whose voice can we hear? And then from from these, we try to find out network relationships, who is connected to who. And then we find cosmoses. Cosmoses are the underlying principles. Every human being, technology, or groups have their underlying basic principles. So we look for basic principles. What are they connected with? Then we make that map. And the last is cosmopolitics. And that is something, to be honest, I haven't clearly understood. It's a very messy structure, so that is still unclear, and I'm being honest to myself, not to you just. I was also honest with my students when I taught this in spring this year. Digital techniques, constraints, and facts. There are some people who say, okay, you're talking about only digital. It's not the world. You're not covering everything. Yes, we are not. And we have to accept that the search engine doesn't search the whole web. We are biased there partially in some way or another. We have our own methods. The content on the web does not include on the content on the internet, so on and so forth. Last, the digital content is a subset of the data in the world. So we are mapping a controversy of partial, but we are trying to do something like a systematic literature review. Does it give a message, ring a bell? So that those who are more into natural science approach and very social science, when they criticize, okay, you're not maintaining a boundary here. You cannot be judged properly. You cannot just say like that. So just to say, we are making it transparent. What did we search, where did we search, and how did I analyze? So I take Venturini's 10 stages. It starts with the glossary of terms and non-controversial elements that has to be reported in the website. Then we have to present a document repository. And I have followed all the 9 steps except the 10th one. It does not allow a research paper to bring in, perform public debates. We can't do that. Unless you kindly come to my ResearchGate or academia link and really write something. It won't happen. So for now, I have kept this excluded. I'm not proposing that it can be included now in the current form. The other 9 stages I tried to cover. Now I get to the actual case, finally, if I can finish in last 5 minutes. Yeah. In this, I started with the glossary of terms and terminologies. There are 3 types I found. I found a lot of literature. Out of those, I just took a sample kind of thing here to demonstrate how it might be done. Within those, we have XMOOCs, CMOOCs, and Quasimoocs, where Quasimoocs are like Khan Academy or MIT's open courseware, like in the YouTube and other environments. And XMOOCs and CMOOCs we are more used to with. Then the document repository. I suggested that when we write a paper, we should put a link that the repository is here. So you can actually see what data I used, how I have produced the diagrams, and what diagrams I have produced. Some of those I have included, some I have not. But you can access those online. Scientometrics, I collected 340 documents from Scopus Search, just as a sample here. And I analyzed like this in Scientometrics by subject area, which discipline are they related to, and then so it's more like when a library science discipline approach we do, or meta-analysis literature review we do. I put that here, and I also try to differentiate how are we in the developing context and developed context. Interestingly, it's United States is representing 35%, Spain is representing 16%, Australia 29.9%, and so on and so forth. So it gives a cartography mapping of the actors of their origin, country, by affiliation. This is generated also using one of the softwares where I have exported Scopus data, and it shows the relationship among authors, keywords, and journals or other publications. And if I could really make it big, I actually wanted to use Prezi so that I can, go in, make it big, but I just didn't have the time to do so. Here, interestingly, we'll see only for one S, MOOCs and MOOC, they are different keywords. So we cannot just work on quantitative. We have to go into qualitative details and find statements. But that level of details could not be presented here. That calls for another structured review. The other part that I covered as this fourth layer is I went to Google Trend and looked at this literature that are connected, looked at the news articles and media publications that are related. And I took those in heat maps to find out what is the nature of this trend of people who are searching from different environment of the places of the world. So what this shows is actually people's interest in the terms MOOCs with an S and MOOC without an S. They have differences. They're not the same search keyword. This minor difference makes a difference in the cartography. This is also an interesting point to consider when we do analysis. Here, I can't get into the details, but the paper analyzes what do we see in this network relationship in Twitter. What we did is we ran Twitter search using the keyword, hashtag MOOC, and then we got this down, and then we analyzed it with Gephi. And when we look at this, we will find some relationship, interesting relationship, who is retweeting and who is forwarding it. This concept of forwarding, forward, and originating a new idea and someone really commenting on it, then we can get into the qualitative approach. Now, if I want to get into the qualitative analysis, there are other softwares that we are going to adopt soon. We got the funding recently, that we'll be getting into the qualitative analysis of it. But this mainly presents the quantitative part of it. I can't get into the relationship details due to time constraint. Similarly, for other layers up to the 10th layer, the tree of disagreement, what I do here is I take one news from this Google trend. I just clicked on one, for example, and take the news. And if I read that, because I used first the keyword and found statements, then I develop questions. Then we find tree of disagreement. It has to be qualitatively done. We have to really look at the article, look at statements, convert this to yes-no questions, and find relationships. This will actually grow. How is the nature of disagreement in the world right now among scholars or other media? The diagram of actors, for example, if I want to take that one news article and make a relationship about the actors from the top, without getting into the complexity, I'll find edX as actually an actor. Coursera, secondary education students as actor. Secondary education student has not been strong an actor in research papers, but they have become actors through news media. So this is sometimes we really miss when we do a literature review only. We really don't have that in there. Then when we try to look for cosmoses, we will find education sectors, for example, tertiary education and secondary education. And then their ideologies. And when I get into details, I will be looking at the country where it was originating from, and those countries and those universities has differences. For example, if I now bring in Aalborg University from where I am, I will be making problem-based learning as a big agenda. But somebody else would make a different thing a big agenda. So the underlying ideology will differ. The chronology of dispute is work in progress. So is the last point, perform public debate, is excluded from my proposition. Now what I do here is I claim and try to propose that I have tried to demonstrate how we can do mapping controversies in the educational technology field, and this gives us a good methodology / method, whichever way we understand. because of the tool use. And we can use very many softwares, like we can take data from Scopus, we can use Sciencescape, we can use Excel's add-on called Node Excel, we can use Google Trends, Navicrawler, Gephi, OpenHeatMap, and many others. These are the ones that I used for this paper only. Okay, that's the quick running that I did in 20 minutes.